He's just not an NBA player.
New footage of Bronny James just leaked, and the entire basketball world is saying the same thing. This kid has no business being on an NBA roster. Millions have watched. Coaches are getting exposed. But what really happened behind closed doors is about to flip this entire narrative. The footage that broke the internet. The internet just lost its collective mind over what people are calling new fight footage between Bronny James and Los Angeles Lakers players, and the truth behind what actually happened is so much wilder than any headline could ever capture. Every single corner of basketball social media, from YouTube to X to Facebook, has been absolutely flooded with thumbnails showing clenched fists, sideline screaming matches, and words like explodes and attack and shocking plastered across them in giant red letters. But here is what nobody is telling you. What these videos actually show has sparked a war inside the Lakers organization that goes far deeper than any single clip. And to understand how it got this bad, you have to go back to the very beginning of the Bronny James experiment in Los Angeles, because absolutely nothing about this story makes sense unless you understand the pressure cooker that was already building long before any of these so-called fight videos ever surfaced on your timeline. Bronny James was drafted 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers in 2024, and from the very first second that selection was announced, the basketball world split clean down the middle in a way that we have not seen since LeBron himself entered the league 2 decades ago. On one side, you had people who saw a young man who survived a terrifying cardiac arrest, fought his way back to the court against all medical odds, and earned his opportunity to chase his NBA dream alongside his father. On the other side, you had critics who pointed to his college numbers at USC, where he averaged 4.8 points on less than 37% shooting from the field, and his summer league numbers, where he put up 4.3 points on 22.6% shooting, and said this kid had absolutely no business being on an NBA roster when there were hundreds of more qualified players sitting at home waiting for a phone call that never came. The debate was nuclear from day one, and it only got more intense, more personal, and more toxic when reports surfaced that agent Rich Paul had allegedly deterred other teams from drafting Bronny, ensuring a Lakers spot with a rare 4-year, $7.9 million guaranteed deal for a second-round pick. Critics like Charles Barkley and Vlade Divac called it unearned, while Lakers owner Jeannie Buss attributed the complaints to jealousy. That tension is what created the perfect environment for every minor disagreement to be blown up into a supposed brawl. Now, the biggest and most sensationalized claim in all of these viral videos is the so-called locker room attack story. According to these channels, Lakers players verbally attacked Bronny in the locker room over favoritism and nepotism, and LeBron allegedly lost his mind after finding out about it. The reality is that no footage of this incident exists, not a single frame. The entire story is based on anonymous reports from the 2024 NBA Summer League, which happened almost 2 years ago. Some players were reportedly frustrated that Bronny received more plays and attention despite poor performance, but there is zero video evidence, zero named sources, and zero confirmation from anyone involved with the organization. The videos pushing this narrative from channels like BuzzBlock TV and Hoop Dynasty use nothing but heavy narration over stock NBA footage with misleading titles that make it sound like you are about to witness a full-scale locker room brawl, when in reality, you are just listening to some guy talk over generic basketball highlights for 12 minutes straight. But the one incident that does have real footage, and the one that most of these viral compilations keep circling back to over and over again, is what happened between Bronny and head coach JJ Redick on November 18, 2025, during a game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Redick was caught on broadcast cameras yelling at Bronny from the sideline to shoot the ball after Bronny hesitated on multiple wide open shots and passed up opportunities that any NBA coach would expect his player to take without a second thought. Bronny was benched after just 4 minutes and played only 10 total in the game, attempting just 2 shots. The footage is real. The intensity is real. But calling it a fight is like calling a teacher raising their voice at a student a cage match. It was a coach doing what coaches do when a player passes up open looks, and Bronny himself responded with remarkable maturity afterward, saying that when the ball gets to him and he is open, he has to get a shot off. That kind of accountability from a rookie is rare, and it tells you everything about the character of the young man at the center of this manufactured controversy. And that maturity is something that even Stephen A. Smith acknowledged before he became part of the story himself, because long before any of this so-called fight footage started circulating across every platform imaginable, Stephen A. went on his show and delivered a monologue that would eventually lead to one of the most talked about standout courtside confrontations of the entire NBA season. He laid out Bronny's numbers with surgical precision and zero emotion, just cold, hard facts that nobody could argue with.
Bronny James has played in 13 NBA games. Ladies and gentlemen, he's averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds.
Those numbers were hard to argue with no matter which side of the debate you stood on, and Stephen A. was not even close to done making his case because the shooting splits were even more difficult to defend.
He shot 1 for 16 from the field in his NBA career and 0 for 7 from three-point range.
And then he asked the question that every honest basketball fan who was paying attention to reality instead of narratives was already thinking deep down inside.
I'm not being cruel to Bronny. I'm looking out.
That was the clip that set the entire sports media world on fire and launched 1,000 reaction videos. But what Stephen A. said next is the part that most people either missed entirely or deliberately ignored because it did not fit the narrative that he was just another hater trying to tear down LeBron's family for clicks and attention. He was not attacking the kid. He was making a point about protection, about shielding a young man from a spotlight that his stats simply did not justify at that particular moment in time. And that point is exactly what connects all of these so-called fight videos together, because the real tension in the Lakers organization was never about punches or locker room brawls or physical altercations of any kind. It was about a young man being placed in a spotlight he was not yet ready for, and everybody around him knowing it, but nobody being willing to say it out loud because of who his father is. The war of words that changed everything. The second piece of this puzzle, and the part that turned a basketball debate into a full-blown cultural event that transcended sports entirely, is what happened between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith in March 2025. Because while the internet was busy sharing footage and recycling sideline clips and slapping dramatic music over everything they could find, an actual real-life confrontation was taking place right there on the court, captured on camera for the entire world to see, and it had absolutely nothing to do with Bronny getting into it with his teammates. On March 7th, 2025, after a Lakers win over the Knicks, LeBron walked directly up to Stephen A. Smith courtside and reportedly told him to stop messing with Bronny. The viral video clip captured the confrontation in full. No punches were thrown, no shoving, no security intervention, just words delivered face to face between two of the most powerful figures in basketball and basketball media respectively. But the look on LeBron's face made it crystal clear that the biggest basketball player on the planet had reached his absolute breaking point and was not going to tolerate one more syllable of what he considered personal attacks on his family. And the reason LeBron reached that point is because Stephen A. had been building his case methodically for weeks, not just throwing shade or making offhand comments for ratings, but constructing a detailed, emotional, and incredibly persuasive argument about why Bronny should not be seeing NBA minutes yet. He compared the situation to boxing, specifically to Marvis Frazier, the son of heavyweight legend Joe Frazier, who was thrown into the ring against Larry Holmes far too early in his career with devastating consequences.
He went into the ring against heavyweight champion Larry Holmes, who had one of the best jabs and one of the best right hands in boxing history.
That analogy hit different because of what Stephen A. described next about Holmes' own reaction during the fight itself, a detail that made the parallel impossible to dismiss as just another hot take.
And I remember Larry Holmes being interviewed and saying, "Ain't no kid with 10 damn fights beating me."
And then he drove the comparison home with a detail that made the entire parallel impossible to ignore, a moment so striking that it silenced even LeBron's most loyal defenders for a brief moment.
And if you remember the fight, ladies and gentlemen, Larry hit him with a right and waved the referee on. Hit him with a right and waved the referee to come and stop the fight.
The implication was devastating and impossible to misunderstand. Holmes knew Marvis Frazier did not belong in the ring with him, and he was practically begging the referee to end it before the kid got seriously hurt. Stephen A. was saying the NBA was doing the same thing to Bronny week after week after week, and that the person who should have been stepping in to protect him, the person who had more power than anyone in that organization to change the situation, was his own father.
And you know who took the hits for that? Joe Frazier, former heavyweight champion of the world.
And Stephen A. was not just making a historical comparison. He was making a direct accusation. He was pointing the finger at LeBron James and saying that a father with more basketball knowledge than almost any human being alive was allowing his son to be embarrassed on a national stage, and that the silence from LeBron's camp on the issue was deafening. The criticism was relentless, and it was gaining momentum with every passing week because the numbers kept backing Stephen A. up, no matter how uncomfortable that made people. When LeBron sat down on the Pat McAfee show in March 2025, the tension from that courtside confrontation was still hanging in the air like smoke after an explosion. And LeBron did not hold back. He started by mocking Stephen A's reaction to the whole situation, making it clear that he saw right through the media machine and the way Stephen A was milking the confrontation for every possible second of airtime.
He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
The entire internet ran with that image for days, but beneath the comedy and the memes and the viral clips, LeBron's tone shifted into something far more serious. And what he said next revealed the real reason this entire situation had escalated beyond basketball and into something deeply personal. LeBron made it clear that he has zero problem with media members criticizing what happens on the basketball court. That is part of the game and always has been.
Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court.
But there was a line, a clear and unmistakable line. And in LeBron's eyes, Stephen A crossed it when the criticism stopped being about basketball fundamentals and shooting percentage and started being about LeBron's judgment as a father and his ability to protect his own child.
But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players. And
that is where this whole thing stood. Two unmovable forces locked in a public battle over a young man caught in the middle. Stephen A saying LeBron was failing his son by letting him get exposed. LeBron saying Stephen A crossed a line by making it personal. The fans split down the middle with no resolution in sight. The footage still circulating, the criticism still mounting, and Bronny James still out there every single night with the entire world watching and waiting for him to either prove everybody wrong or confirm every doubt that had been piling up since draft night. But what happened next is the part that nobody, not Stephen A, not the clickbait channels, not the anonymous sources, none of them saw coming. The rise that nobody saw coming. Now here is the part that none of those clickbait channels want you to know about, because it completely and utterly destroys the narrative they have been selling for months and profiting off of at the expense of a young man who is just trying to find his way in the most scrutinized league in professional sports. While the internet was busy manufacturing fake fight footage and debating whether Bronny James belonged in the NBA and repackaging old clips with new dramatic narration, the kid himself was quietly putting in the work day after day after day and producing results that have made every single one of his critics look like they spoke way too soon and way too confidently about a situation they did not fully understand. Because here is the truth that all of those viral videos have been hiding from you. There is no actual new physical fight between Bronny James and Lakers players. Not one single solitary frame of real fight footage exists anywhere on the internet. The phrase, new fight footage between Bronny James and Lakers players goes viral, is almost entirely clickbait exaggeration. The locker room attack story has no footage and is based on anonymous reports from the 2024 NBA Summer League almost 2 years ago. The coaching incidents were real sideline intensity, but not physical fights. And the 2026 fight footage is mostly repackaged old clips with heavy narration layered on top. Every single one of those thumbnails with clenched fists and red text was designed to make you click, not to tell you the truth. And the truth is that the so-called fight footage, the locker room attack stories, the coaching blow-ups, all of that drama was built on a foundation of Bronny struggling during his earliest NBA appearances when he was still recovering from a cardiac arrest and adjusting to the fastest and most physically demanding league on the planet. But what happened after those struggles is a story that almost nobody in the clickbait economy is telling. And it might be the most important part of this entire saga because it reveals the truth that drama merchants do not want you to hear. The other real piece of footage that went viral, and that most of these drama channels conveniently ignore because it does not fit their narrative of conflict and chaos, came from the Lakers' preseason training camp way back in October 2024. During a scrimmage, Bronny and LeBron went head-to-head in what Anthony Davis described as one of the most competitive moments of the entire camp. Bronny hit a three-pointer over LeBron, prompting teammates to cheer and trash talk in Bronny's favor. LeBron responded by bullying his way to an aggressive layup against another teammate to vent his frustration because he was not about to let his own son son, show him up in front of the whole squad. Then Bronny came right back and hit another 3, which sent the entire practice facility into chaos. Davis told reporters afterward that you could see the competition between them, even though they were not matched up against each other. And that is exactly what the team loves to see. That is not a fight. That is not tension. That is not drama. That is a father and son pushing each other to be better on the biggest stage in basketball, which is exactly what this franchise signed up for when they drafted Bronny in the 2nd round. And then there was the moment that started it all, the moment that every basketball fan will remember for the rest of their lives, regardless of what happens next. The home opener against Minnesota, when LeBron and Bronny stepped onto the court together for the very first time in NBA history, making a moment that had never happened before in over 7 decades of professional basketball.
With LeBron, history tonight, the first father-son duo to play together in an NBA game.
The Griffeys were in attendance that night. Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr., the only father-son duo in baseball history to play together on the same team, came specifically to witness history being made in another sport. LeBron described the feeling of that moment on the McAfee show months later, and his words revealed something that no stat line or highlight reel or box score could ever capture about what that night meant to him as a father.
And then us going out on the floor and having that moment, I wasn't even there.
He was floating. His body was on the court, but his mind was somewhere else entirely, processing 20 years of professional basketball, the cardiac arrest scare that nearly took his son's life, the comeback that defied medical expectations, the draft night emotions, and now this once-in-a-lifetime moment unfolding in real time in front of his entire family.
But damn, that was an unbelievable moment, man, for me to be able to have that dream, be able to speak it into existence, for it to come to fruition.
And then LeBron revealed the context that reframes the entire Bronny timeline, the part that Stephen A. and every critic conveniently glossed over while they were busy comparing his son to a boxer getting beaten senseless. He talked about the cardiac arrest with a rawness that stopped everyone in the room cold.
Not less than a year before with his
he almost died?
Yeah, his cardiac arrest, man.
That came out of nowhere, seemingly.
That came out of nowhere.
LeBron explained that it was a birth defect, something that nobody in the world would have ever discovered if Bronny had not been pushing his body to the extreme physical limits that elite basketball demands of its athletes day after day.
It was a birth defect that practically, quite honestly, if he never played sports, or he never started to become, strong and run fast and all those.
That birth defect meant Bronny's heart was under stress every time he pushed his body to elite levels, and nobody had any idea until it was almost too late. And then LeBron provided context that almost nobody in the media was talking about, context that completely reframes the entire timeline of Bronny's development. A close friend of his who also went through a cardiac arrest told LeBron something that put everything into a completely different perspective.
And he told me, he was like, man, I'm gonna be honest, it took me about 2.5 years to finally get back to just normalcy.
That friend was 23 years old when it happened to him. Bronny was only 19 when his heart stopped beating during a practice at USC. And despite the fact that medical professionals said it could take years to recover fully, less than 2 years later, Bronny was not just playing basketball again. He was competing in the NBA and the G League simultaneously and showing real measurable improvement with every passing week. And while all of that was playing out in the background, Bronny was quietly and relentlessly leveling up his game in ways that the stat sheets from his first 13 appearances could never have predicted. By March 2025, the kid who was averaging 0.3 points in his first 13 NBA games was dropping 39 points in G League games and putting up his best NBA performances of the season. He had a solid 12.6 assist game against the Spurs that showed real improvement in every facet of his game. His development was not just noticeable to people paying close attention, it was undeniable even to his harshest critics who had written him off months earlier. And LeBron himself put the entire timeline into perspective with a statement that silenced every person in that room.
I am super proud of his development to where he is now. From the moment that, he was drafted in June of 2025
Even the G League coaching tension that these viral videos keep recycling as fight footage week after week was actually a sign of growth when you look at it with any degree of nuance or context. In December 2025, Bronny had a heated verbal argument with a South Bay Lakers coach, briefly walked off the court mid-game, then returned and finished the contest. He put up 10 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 turnovers in that game. Was it pretty? No. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But the fact that he came back after walking off, finished the game, competed hard down the stretch, and kept pushing forward tells you everything you need to know about the character and the mental toughness of the young man at the center of this manufactured controversy. And on February 10th, 2026, when LeBron was sidelined with left foot arthritis for a game against the San Antonio Spurs, something happened that perfectly captured exactly where Bronny is right now in his journey and how far he has come from those early days when his stat line read like a typo. Bronny stepped in for LeBron during the team's pre-game ritual, performing the ball toss and dance routine that his father had recently introduced to the team to build pre-game energy and camaraderie. The clip went viral on Sportskeeda's Instagram, with the caption asking fans what they thought about Bronny stepping into his dad's spot. Reactions were mixed, as they always are with anything Bronny related on the internet, but the image itself told a powerful story that no amount of clickbait could distort. This was not a kid hiding from the spotlight or crumbling under the weight of expectations. This was a young man stepping into his father's shoes, literally and figuratively, and doing it with confidence and swagger in front of 20,000 people. Even Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown, who has been one of Bronny's harshest and most detailed critics throughout this entire process, had to acknowledge the complicated reality of the situation when he said on camera what many analysts had been thinking privately but were afraid to say publicly. And he went even further than that, making a statement that cut right to the beating heart of the nepotism debate that has surrounded Bronny since the moment his name was called on draft night.
The reason why he's there is because LeBron, has kind of made sure he's there. He's just not an NBA player.
That criticism stings, and there is no way to sugarcoat it. But even Coach Nick was working with limited information from early season performances and small sample sizes that do not tell the complete story. What Bronny has done since those comments were recorded, the 39-point G League explosions, the improved NBA minutes with real statistical growth, the growing confidence that is visible to anyone watching with an open mind, tells a completely different story than the one those early numbers painted. And LeBron knows that better than anyone on the planet. When asked about Bronny's progress, he did not cite stats or highlight reels or advanced metrics. He talked about something more fundamental than any number. He talked about mentality and will.
And I reason with that, but also he's doing things right now less than 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's because of his determination and his will to want to get better.
And that competitive fire that LeBron was talking about was on full display for the world to see after that legendary 39-point G League game when LeBron revealed to McAfee what Bronny was actually upset about after the best game of his professional career.
More than anything, he's like, I could have had a 40 burger.
Yeah.
He said, I could have had a 40 ball and I missed that damn technical free throw. So, man.
That is not a kid who is overwhelmed by the pressure. That is not a kid who is hiding from the spotlight or crumbling under the weight of his father's legacy. That is a competitor, a real competitor, who is genuinely angry about leaving one single point on the table after dropping 39 on professional basketball players. And that mentality, that refusal to be satisfied even after his best performance, is exactly why LeBron has maintained throughout this entire circus that Bronny's path is going to work out, regardless of what any clickbait channel or hot take artist or anonymous internet commenter has to say about it. So, the next time you see a thumbnail with the words "new fight footage" and Bronny James's face on it, remember what you learned here today. The locker room attack story has no footage and is based on anonymous reports from almost 2 years ago. Well, that's it for this video, but don't go anywhere, because we've got plenty more heat for you. Just tap any of the cards on your screen right now and keep it locked.